company involved in the Fallen 4 tragedy. Also revealed at last what George Pell really knew about sex abuse in his churches. And Holmes hits as wild winds lash Melbourne's southeasts.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. The Prime Minister is preparing to lay out a step-by-step plan to bring Australians out of the coronavirus lockdown, easing restrictions in a series of stages. Scott Morrison is adding the final touches to the exit strategy, set to swing into action this month.
The road out of the coronavirus crisis will be a journey of 3 stages.
Australians will now be at the forefront of beginning to regain their lives.
National Cabinet tomorrow will design the roadmap. The stages in force at least 4 weeks apart, the first this month, the second in June and the third in mid-July, signalling the reopening of a COVID-safe economy.
That will set out clear stages and then each state will determine how they're able to move.
The first stage easing social gatherings, community sport and encouraging a return to retail. The 4-week gap allowing leaders to assess the impact of each stage on infection rates before moving to the next.
The more we have interaction with people, the more we move around, the more the chance is that any low level of virus might spread more.
As Australia earns entry to the First Movers Club, video conferences of nations emerging first from lockdown, including Israel, Austria, Greece, Denmark, Norway, Czechoslovakia, New Zealand and Singapore. The number of Australians approved for the JobKeeper allowance ticked past 5 million today, with another 1.5 million unemployed and receiving job seeker allowance. That's more than half the total workforce on benefits. With the banks now deferring payments for $160 billion of business loans and mortgages, the economic case for reopening is growing. Mark Riley, 7 News.
The lockdown exit strategy won't save Victorians from a lonely Mother's Day, with Daniel Andrews refusing to budge on his hard line. Laurel Irving has the details. Laurel, the Premier says it's not time to ease restrictions.
Mitch, the Premier is preparing to make an announcement on Monday and he's not prepared to ease restrictions even one day earlier so families can get together for Mother's Day. And he says that means that he will be one of many Victorians unable to see their mums on Sunday. Shopping centre car parks transformed into medical labs, Victorians queuing in their cars to be tested. It's a public health program we've never seen before and the government says it's been a staggering success. With 2 days still to go in the fortnight blitz, 106,000 Victorians have now been tested for COVID-19.
An MCG's worth of Victorians have come forward and got tested. That makes me proud and so grateful, and that's going to give us options.
But not in time for Mother's Day.
I've got no announcements to make about restrictions. I plan to make those announcements on Monday. I have no announcements to make on restrictions today.
From the vast screening program, only a handful of positive tests have come back, but the Premier wants to wait until all the results are in.
I can tell you what I'll be doing on Mother's Day. I will not be visiting my mum.
There was news on the outbreak at Cedar Meats, though. Of Victoria's 14 new cases today, 13 are linked to the abattoir. It means what began as an isolated case on April the 2nd has swelled to Victoria's biggest cluster, 62 cases now linked to the factory in Brooklyn. The state opposition has mocked the Health Minister's claim.
It's been handled absolutely perfectly.
Well, if this is absolutely perfect, I'd hate to see a cock-up.
The Federal Health Minister slightly more accommodating.
And I want to thank and acknowledge the difficult work that Victoria and their public health units are doing. They are doing everything they can.
McDonald's has confirmed a worker at its restaurant in Fawkner has tested positive. Their last shift was April 30. McDonald's says it has health department approval to stay open. And another case in a school. A student at Marcellin College has tested positive. The school says he's at home with mild symptoms and has not been into school this term. Laurel Irving, 7 News.
Police have sent a message to a man on the run, telling him that he can't hide from them over the murder of a young mother. Ricardo Barbaro is the son of a notorious crime figure and wanted for questioning over the brutal death. 7 News can reveal she'd been threatened in the weeks before she was killed.
Devoted mother Ellie Price will never get the chance to see her little boy grow up.
Don't leave your camera!
She has a family who's grieving for her and a community that is needing and deserving of answers.
The 26-year-old was found with her throat slashed in her South Melbourne home on Monday. 3 days on, police need help to track down her boyfriend, Ricardo Barbaro.
There will be, we believe, family and friends who will know where he is.
Ricardo is a member of one of the country's most notorious crime families. His father is a cousin of mafia figure Pasquale Barbaro, gunned down alongside Jason Moran in 2003.
Steve McCann was watching his son play football when the gunman opened fire.
7 News can reveal Ms Price needed stitches after a fight with Barbaro last month, and she received death threats reporting his violence to police. Ms Price was so terrified for her son, she flew him to Tasmania to be with her family as she prepared to pack up her life in Melbourne. Homicide detectives have pinpointed a crucial time frame between the afternoon of Tuesday, April 28 and the following morning. They suspect that's when Ms Price was killed.
She may have been in those premises for a number of days, perhaps up to 5 days. That's why we're focusing our attention on that time frame.
Ms Price's Mercedes is missing. It has distinctive pink number plates, and detectives suspect Barbaro is travelling in her car or his Toyota Hiace.
Just one final point, if you're listening, Ricardo. This is not going to go away.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
We have exclusive new details tonight on the freeway tragedy that killed 4 police officers. We have live reports with developments on 2 key fronts. First, we'll go to Chanel Vella. Chanel, the rogue Porsche driver blamed for setting off the deadly chain reaction, is preparing to mount a bid for freedom.
Mitch, right here at the Melbourne Magistrates Court on Monday morning, Richard Pusey, the Porsche driver involved in the Eastern Freeway crash, will apply for bail. 7 News has been told exclusively that police will oppose his bail, and in doing so they may choose to play that harrowing video of leading Senior Constable Lynette Taylor in her final moments. But of course, out of respect to her, her family, and of course other members of the force who were affected by those harrowing details, it may not be played in open court, and it's likely the magistrate will be asked to view it in private chambers. In fact, we've been told that Victoria Police never want that video played in open court. But come Monday, right here at Melbourne Magistrates Court, Richard Pusey will make his bid for freedom. Mitch.
Thank you, Chanel. Now to Blake Johnson. Blake, the trucking company at the centre of the tragedy is again in the spotlight.
Peter, it is getting plenty of attention from police, not only in Victoria but also in New South Wales. These pictures are from Sydney tonight, where warrants have been executed on a logistics company. It is the same company Mahinder Singh works for. He is accused of being behind the wheel of the truck that hit and killed those 4 police officers. Detail is light from police on what they're searching for, but they and New South Wales Road Authority inspectors have been going over and under trucks, interviewing drivers and breath testing them. So this investigation is now spread across state borders. Mahinder Singh, a father of 2, is still in custody, where it's alleged they found meth pipes in his cabin after the crash. Peter?
Blake Johnson at police headquarters, thank you. A top-secret report has revealed Cardinal George Pell knew about child sex abuse and failed to act. The Child Abuse Royal Commission findings were redacted for years, but now reject many of the Cardinal's claims.
George Pell put his hand on the Bible and swore to tell the whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Then denied knowing about priests abusing children. The Royal Commission's conclusions about his evidence were kept secret while he faced criminal charges. Now they're public and they're damning.
It's devastating because ultimately at the end of the day, the abuse could have and should have been prevented.
Cardinal Pell agreed he was involved in moving friend Gerard Ridsdale between parishes, but insisted he didn't know he was a pedophile. The report found it is likely that he knew of Ridsdale's sexual transgressions. Commissioners also declared he knew pervert priest Peter Searson had a habit of walking into boys' bathrooms. He ought reasonably to have concluded that action needed to be taken in relation to Father Searson.
At every point, the Catholic clergy hierarchy failed.
And as a matter of fact, it chose to protect their power, they chose to protect their money.
The Commission believed then-student Timothy Green's claim he was dismissed as ridiculous when he sought help from Pell.
Sadly for Mr Green, he feels a sense of responsibility and he still carries with him the thought that he could have done more to help protect children.
Overall, the Commission concluded that by 1973, Cardinal Pell was not only conscious of child sexual abuse by clergy, but that he also had considered measures of avoiding situations which might provoke gossip about it.
They need to act. He needs to be defrocked and removed his status in the church.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
And Nick McCallum joins us now. Nick, we've just heard from George Pell.
That's right, Peter. From Sydney a short time ago, he released a statement and he appears to be very unhappy. He said he was surprised by some of the views of the Royal Commission about his actions. These views are not supported by evidence. And he reiterated his insistence. He knew nothing about the crimes of Gerald Ridsdale until the 1990s. Also a short time ago, Peter Comensoli, the Archbishop of Melbourne, released a statement. Once again, he apologised to the victims of child abuse. He said he's currently analysing the findings to see if the church needs to do anything further in its measures to stamp out child abuse and to look after the survivors. Peter?
Thank you, Nick. Nick McCallum reporting. It's taken 6.5 years, but the family of a murdered mum finally has some closure tonight. Kylie Blackwood's killer has just been sentenced to serve at least the next 32 years behind bars after he stabbed her to death inside her home while he was on parole.
Scott Murdoch stabbed Kylie Blackwood to death on her lounge room couch. Her body found by her 11-year-old twins when they came home from school. Today, justice was finally served, but her family couldn't be there to see it done.
It's less than ideal that we're in a pandemic at the moment and they're not able to be here.
Instead, they watched online as 42-year-old Murdoch was sentenced to life in jail for murdering Ms Blackwood and intentionally causing serious injury to Alona Prohaska. Mrs Prohaska was in her 70s when months earlier Murdoch broke into her home and stabbed her in the neck.
Mrs Prohaska was stripped of her capacity to enjoy life. You did that. Kylie Blackwood lost her life and her husband lost a loving wife. Her children lost a devoted mother. You did that.
Murdoch was on parole for attacking another woman when he murdered Ms Blackwood. Because he pleaded guilty, the judge said Scott Murdoch again deserves the possibility of parole after he served 36 years. Ms Blackwood's family hopes even then authorities don't make the same mistake twice. We hope that the parole system will be more accountable for whom they release in the future. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Fears are growing for a Melbourne woman missing in Japan. Estelle Griepink is following the story. Estelle, she hasn't been heard from since Sunday.
Mitch, 22-year-old Lilia Tran, also known as Julia, has been missing for 4 days now, and understandably her family are worried sick. She'd moved to Japan just a couple of months ago to become an English teacher. Her boyfriend has told us that he last spoke to her on Sunday when she said she was leaving her apartment to go and get some groceries. That apartment has now been accessed by local authorities. They say her passport was still inside and her phone is not being answered. Now, Lilia's boyfriend says this disappearance is extremely out of character. She isn't one to step out of her comfort zone and go wandering off. She doesn't have any medical conditions and she also hasn't fallen out with any of her friends and colleagues in Japan. DFAT says they are providing consular assistance to the family here in Melbourne. They are asking tonight that if anyone has any information to please come forward.
Thanks, Estelle. Estelle Griepink reporting. Melbourne's southeast is picking up the pieces after a wild night with winds topping 100 kilometres per hour. Homes took a hit as trees and power lines came down, leaving the SES and locals with a big clean-up.
The worst of the wind struck in the middle of the night. This giant tree came down on a house in Belgrave in the Yarra Ranges. Debris spread across this upway road.
We were lying in bed, we just heard this whooshing sound and the crash.
Locals know living in this area means there's always a risk.
These guys have lost heaps of trees. I've got one down in my gully.
The SES received almost 100 calls for assistance, mostly for fallen trees. 8 were for building damage.
Through the Grampians, just near Ararat, we had a roof taken off a house. So there has been quite a varied mix of requests for assistance today.
It's a bit scary living in these areas because you've got so many big trees and windy nights we're always a bit alert.
Michael Siu was asleep when a tree crashed through his Murrumbina roof.
And I was sailing the seas of sweet dreams. And then suddenly this morning at 10 a.m. there was a thunderous sound and I woke to find a whole tree had fallen on my roof.
His bedroom a no-go zone.
So I guess I'll need to sleep out in my living room on my fold-out sofa bed couch. Or maybe they'll put me up at the Sofitel. What do you think?
The worst of the weather had passed by mid-afternoon, but we're being warned to enjoy the calmer conditions while we can, because they won't last long. Another cold burst hits Saturday.
Don't worry, not as bad as what we had last week. That was unbelievable.
Tom Chadwick, 7 News.
The AFL has launched an urgent investigation with one club suspected of breaking training rules. And that headline sport with Tim Watson. Good evening, Tim.
Good evening, Mitch. Yes, players have been spotted training on a golf course. We'll have details shortly. Also coming up, exclusive pictures of crisis talks between the two WA clubs and the government as a star Tiger looks to fast-track footy's return. Why Joe Burns already has one eye on summer. And Iron Mike Tyson up against big bad Barry Hall. It's not as far-fetched as you might think. Don't look at me like that. It's not as far-fetched as you might think.
I think it's far-fetched, but thank you very much anyway, Tim. Next, breaking exclusive news on the Cedar Meats COVID-19 cluster. Also a plea to end a family's misery. They need to know what happened to Jared, why police fear the worst, how private details have been hacked in a scam, what you need to know, and what next for the Ruby Princess arriving at her new destination.
7 News, brought to you by Industry Superfunds.
I suddenly realised we're all in this together.
That feels especially true, given what's going on. It is good to know that our super will help us and our economy bounce back. And if you're with one of these, your super is invested in things that create jobs and keep Aussie businesses strong, delivering good long-term returns that benefit all of us. After all,
we're all in this together.
Our first home, our first big commitment.
Sunday, they come home.
That is bloody beautiful.
This is like the ultimate.
Wow, I've never ever seen that before.
I love it. It's perfect.
Will these lovebirds
Here we have a pretend engagement ring.
get their fairy tale ending? A very special reveal. Sunday at 7 on 7.
JB stores are open for business for the hottest deals, like the latest Dyson V11 outsize for $12.99, and get sparkling water with a soda stream only $1.19, and this Nutri Ninja personal blender for $1.29. Buy in store, online, click and collect, or get it delivered. JB, you've done it again.
With Light and Easy, you can still enjoy a huge variety of delicious, healthy meals in the comfort and safety of your home, thanks to their chefs and dietitians and their contactless delivery service. In fact, Light and Easy has recently been rated Australia's #1 healthy meal delivery service, scoring 5 stars for customer satisfaction, as well as taste, variety and freshness, all things you'll find on their autumn menu. Enjoy delicious, healthy meals with Light and Easy's contactless, award-winning delivery. Order today.
Being stuck at home doesn't have to mean being stuck for things to do. Because if you take a look around, there's inspiration everywhere. Ryobi One Plus. 1 + U equals endless possibilities. Available at bunnings.com.au.
A ticket in the MS Dream Home Lottery is more than a chance to win one of 2 $1.5 million grand prizes. Every ticket sold helps us support thousands of Victorians living with multiple sclerosis. People like Lydia.
Through MS Limited, I access NDIS support. That just gave me the freedom to not worry about it. It was great.
You too can make a difference. Get your tickets today.
Come home to stylish winter living. Shop Beacon's stunning new designs and get 30% off your second item. Mix and match anything from our entire range and get 30% off your second. Sale on now.
If you're a small business, you've probably got a lot of questions right now, which is why you should speak to a professional accountant who's trained in planning and cash flow management strategies. For further support, contact a professional accountant today.
Tasty, affordable and delicious. What's for dinner in the next break with Coles?
There's breaking news now on the Cedar Meats COVID-19 cluster. Returning to Laurel Irving with the exclusive details. Laurel, the cluster has now infected a schoolboy.
That's right, Mitch. The Department of Health has just confirmed to me that a student at Marsland College in Bulleen has tested positive and that he is a close contact of somebody at Cedar Meats. Now, of course, this student has not been at school this term, so there's no risk to the wider school community. We understand he has mild symptoms. He's recovering well at home. But, of course, there are now 62 cases linked to this cluster at Cedar Meats. It's a reminder of just how dangerous an outbreak this size can be to the Victorian community. Mitch.
Thank you, Laurel. Laurel Irving reporting. The father of a missing gentle giant is pleading for his son's safe return. Jared Loverson vanished 3 weeks ago and there are fears he may have been murdered.
John Loverson last saw his son Jared 3 weeks ago, little knowing it could have been for the last time.
He just went out like a normal day, like he normally did, and never come home.
The 37-year-old bought groceries from Woolworths in Moe and posted this photo on social media after visiting a friend.
Jared's friend has basically stated that he was fine. He wasn't sure of where he was going to, but there was nothing unusual.
Police fear for his safety. His bike is missing and his best mate left at home.
Basically, Jared wouldn't leave without taking the dog.
And if you can imagine a 7-foot bloke carrying his dog around like a baby on his green push bike, you know.
Investigators believe someone was making and receiving calls from Mr Loverson's phone hours after he was last seen, but they aren't revealing whose number was being dialed.
We do have some very, very serious concerns in relation to what has actually happened to Jared.
My big muscle man who is just a big fun-loving giant of a man.
Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
The Ruby Princess has finally returned home. The vessel is anchored in waters off the Philippines alongside 16 other cruise ships. 21 deaths and 700 infections have been linked to the ship. Hundreds of crew members on board are still waiting for their test results. Fraudsters have taken their slice of the billions of dollars being drained from super accounts across Australia in early stimulus payouts. Authorities say the scams are sophisticated and may be orchestrated by offshore and organised crime groups.
The $9 billion taken early from Australian super accounts is easy pickings for some.
It's quite sophisticated.
Organised crime or offshore links?
That's all possibilities.
The Australian Federal Police has identified 150 victims, freezing accounts holding a total of $120,000. The Tax Commissioner said super funds may have thought wrongly they were paying out to a legitimate member.
And there are other players other than the ATO and the super fund.
The victims are being contacted. The average amount of early super being paid out is just under $9,000. Officials would not say which super funds have been targeted, but did confirm that the MyGov site has not been hacked, nor of any other government websites, warning more attacks are likely and our best defence is to better protect our identity information and personal data. The AFP has executed 5 search warrants.
We don't want to tip off, the offenders involved in this, given the fact that we have made no arrests at this stage.
Super funds may be liable to compensate members who are victims of fraud.
Can you provide a guarantee to the Australian people that there won't be further examples of fraud like this?
I think that'll be a pretty tough call.
Brian Seymour, 7 News.
Jane Bunn joins us now for more on our windy weather. And Jane, what are you tracking right now?
Well, Mitch, the worst of that wind was this morning. Conditions rapidly eased mid-afternoon, and here is the latest warning. Only the Alps are at risk, the rest are in the clear. A stunning sunrise gradually turned to dark cloud overhead, with winds gusting 117 k's an hour in the Grampians. They were northerly, so the surf had clean offshore conditions. This is Rye Ocean Beach. The radar shows a band of rain. It looks impressive, quite heavy in parts, but this is what is really happening. The air is so dry today that the radar beam hits the raindrops up high and they evaporate by the time they reach the ground. So it's a light spit of rain for us all the way down here, if anything at all. After that cleared, it was sunny. We reached 21 in the city. That's 5 degrees above average. I'll have the full outlook after sport, Mitch.
Thank you, Jane. Families separated by just metres will have a very different Mother's Day this year. Some can visit Mum, others will be stuck at home. The tale of two towns is just ahead. Also, paramedics called as more violence erupts inside a Victorian prison. Donald Trump's awkward encounter with a frontline nurse at the White House. And Harry and Meghan share a rare moment with Archie to celebrate his first birthday.
David, I'm assigning you to the Home Secretary.
Very good, Mum.
She's got an agenda to heighten fear, to seize power. I don't need you to vote for me, only to protect me.
These plots do not always arise from outside.
She's got you wrapped around her finger. This is a very dangerous politician. There's been an inside man all along.
Bodyguard, coming to 7.
Hi, I'm Courtney, and we hope you've enjoyed this week's kids' recipes. I am so proud to be working with Coles to support the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation. Tonight I'll be cooking a handmade semolina pasta with a fresh tomato and garlic sauce. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is chop our tomatoes. And you guys want to do your bridge hold of the tomatoes, and we just want to slice down. We now need to dice the tomatoes. So you can do your bear grip or your tiger grip. Keep your fingers tucked out of the way. All of the tomatoes are diced up. So we've got 4 cloves of garlic, and you can just use your rock and chop to roughly dice these. So I've got about 2 tablespoons of olive oil that we're going to pop into our pan, and we can go in with the garlic, put in our tomatoes. So you want a good pinch of salt. And we also need a little bit of sugar. The tomato sauce is smelling amazing. You can see it's reduced down a little bit. Okay, for our handmade pasta today, there's lots of different recipes, but this is the easiest of them all. All we're using is some water and some semolina flour. And we're using our clean hands to start to work that flour into the water. And you're wanting to get this to a really nice dough consistency. And we're going to do what's called kneading. Now this pasta dough has become really nice and soft and smooth. All we need to do now is to let this rest. All right, our pasta dough has had its 20 minutes resting, and we're going to cut it into 6 portions. So now that that's rolled out, we can start to nip pieces of dough and give it a roll, and then using your 3 middle fingers, press down on the pasta and then roll it towards you. I've got some boiling water here, and we need to add some sea salt, and then we can just lower this into the water and it will start to rise up and tell you when it's cooked. Look at that beautiful big bowl, hearty pasta, really simple to make, really lots of fun as well. So I'm just gonna top my pasta with this beautiful tomato and garlic sauce. And there you have it, handmade semolina pasta with a fresh tomato and garlic sauce. We hope this week has inspired you to get in the kitchen with your kids, and loads of great ideas for Mother's Day too. For this and many other fantastic recipes, head over to the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation and Coles websites. Happy cooking.
More violence has erupted inside Barwon Prison. Paramedics were called to the jail near Geelong just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. An inmate was treated for stab wounds to his head and neck. He's been taken to hospital. It's the latest in a string of attacks at the jail in recent months. With Victorians doing it tough being banned from visiting their mums on Mother's Day, spare a thought for residents in our border towns. While they're in lockdown, just metres away in New South Wales, they're allowed to visit their loved ones.
A community divided by the border, now driven further apart by the coronavirus.
Very lonely in as much as I won't be seeing my children or my mother, and that'll be very different.
If she lived across the river, pharmacy worker Lynn Beaumont could spend Mother's Day with her son, daughter and 2 grandkids. But instead, she'll be trapped at home.
Is it tempting being so close yet so far?
Oh, absolutely. But no, we all have to social distance and be responsible.
Even the mayor's not immune.
My dad and mum live across the river, just across that bridge in Albury, and it does mean that I won't see them for breakfast and our normal family get-together.
With no COVID cases in weeks, patience is wearing thin.
It does get hard to explain to your community, particularly the parts that are hurting, when we keep those really strict rules in place.
Cafe worker Monique Shemetsky says she'll make the trip to see her mum regardless.
Because she means a lot to me and I want to show her that.
And this is where things get really tricky. On that side of the river, lockdowns remain in place, but on this side, restrictions are eased. Spare a thought for locals who have to cross this boundary line of COVID confusion every day.
But it does have its advantages. Wodonga golfers making the most of local courses still open across the border.
That's awesome. Victoria should look at opening theirs.
Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
Donald Trump has marked National Nurses Day in the US by inviting a team into the Oval Office, one speaking up about struggles for basic supplies.
I've been reusing my N95 mask for a few weeks now, so PPE has been sporadic.
Sporadic for you, but not sporadic for a lot of other people.
Oh, no, I agree, Mr. President.
Because I've heard the opposite.
The President today called COVID-19 an attack that's worse than Pearl Harbor or September the 11th. Congress has been warned the death toll will hit 100,000 by June. Italy's strict lockdown is easing and transport through Europe is slowly starting up again. Our Europe correspondent Sarah Greenhalgh has travelled to Rome on an eerie flight through an empty departure terminal.
For most of us, air travel is synonymous with adventure, but flying in a pandemic is grim. At London's Heathrow, departure boards are bare, the terminal's eerie, and passengers are apprehensive. This is Terminal 2. At the moment, anyone flying on any airline other than British Airways is departing from here. And in the time we've been in the airport, check-in through security, we have literally only seen a few dozen passengers. You need a good reason to be allowed on board. Many are foreigners heading home after losing their jobs.
Who's next, please?
There are temperature checks at departure gates, but only for people travelling to countries that require it. Italy is one of them. On board Alitalia flights, masks are mandatory. Passengers are seated separately. You can't walk around the plane and you must fill out a declaration form before landing. The country's been described as a wounded soldier returning from war as restrictions lift. Hope is spreading while Spain has extended its 2-week state of emergency. Shops in Germany are trading again. Boris Johnson will reveal on Sunday when the UK's restrictions will ease, despite the death toll officially surpassing 30,000.
We'll want, if we possibly can, to get going with some of these measures on Monday.
The risk of returning to lockdown remains very real if countries do not manage the transition.
Sarah Greenhalgh is in Rome tonight. Sarah, what's it like over there?
Well, Peter, elements of normal life have resumed, but it is ever so slow. 4.5 million Italians returned to work this week. Family members can now visit each other after 2 months in isolation, which is a relief. But people here are nervous. Scientists fear that a second wave of the virus could be deadlier than the first, and that is because the 28,000 deaths are clustered into regions. So millions of people remain susceptible if social distancing rules aren't followed. Peter?
Sarah Greenhalgh in Rome. Thank you. Meghan and Harry have given the world a rare glimpse of baby Archie on his first birthday. They were filming story time in the Sussex household and tried to keep Archie focused on a book, but he had other ideas.
Lockdown in Los Angeles.
Duck,
rabbit.
Archie celebrates his first birthday with a book. His father in charge of camera work and sound effects.
I heard duck sounds. Quack, quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack.
Royal fans were given their first glimpse of the seventh in line to the throne this year. The usually secretive Sussexes using story time to raise awareness of children going without food or education as a result of the COVID-19 shutdown. But he wrapped up his rare public appearance with a shout out to Dad.
Yay!
Prior to the coronavirus crisis, it was speculated that Archie would spend his first birthday in the United Kingdom with the Queen. But with travel restrictions keeping the Sussexes here in LA, it's believed the birthday boy received a video message from the monarch instead. The Queen also sharing a public birthday message, an honour usually reserved for senior royals. Prince Charles posting a christening photo with his birthday love, while the Cambridges wish their nephew a happy first birthday. Archie out of the firm, but still very much in the family.
Paige, look arch.
In Los Angeles, Amelia Brace, 7 News.
Wait, listen, did you hear that?
Next, the story that's sure to brighten your day. See how an elderly woman was rescued after spending days injured and trapped. The heartwarming reunion with the police officers she now calls her angels. Also, how to get back on track if you've been putting on the isolation kilos. And beating the super slump, nest egg advice for all ages.
It's gonna knock you off your feet.
The key players uncensored.
Wish I could have done more, Tail.
Shocking footage exposed. Our burning questions answered.
He was killed.
Tiger King. What really went down? Tuesday, 7:30, only on 7.
At Macca's, cleanliness is our priority, ensuring we keep our team and the community safe. You can still get your favourites and essential items contact-free. Thanks to all our teams across Australia, we'll be here.
Ultimate is on fire! A warm home is a safe home. Support Australia's largest manufacturer of wood heaters and gas log fires, Ultimate. Buy direct and save thousands. Heaters starting at $7.49. Don't be left out on the cold. Dandenong, Epping and North Geelong.
Right now, lives like Eva's still depend on regular blood donations. To her, they'll always be an essential service, which is why Life Blood Donor Centres are safe and still open. If you're feeling well, book a donation today.
When your hair's not weighed down, you can do the day. Introducing new Pantene 0% silicone. Unlike silicone found in ordinary shampoos, new Pantene has nourishing lipids. The difference is clear. New Pantene 0% silicone formula gives you lightweight, smooth hair that lasts through to the next day. Do 0% silicone. Do new Pantene.
You can open it now. Happy Mother's Day!
Oh, thanks, love. Look what Amy got me.
Be Mum's instant favourite with instant scratchets.
Have you two muted?
Okay, let's start something. Let's learn. Let's ponder. Let's do a degree and study online. Let's learn with the experts so there's less of this and more of this. Let's hit the books. Let's collaborate, caffeinate. Okay, now let's create. Let's make the grade. Let's start today. Let's do this with Swinburne Online.
An elderly woman has spent 5 days lying on her floor with a broken hip after suffering a nasty fall. She was saved by police officers on a welfare check. 2 heroes she now calls her rescue angels.
beating down the front door to find 80-year-old Erica collapsed on the floor inside her Bow Desert home.
Hi. Yes, it's the police, Erica. Can you tell me what's happened? You've fallen down?
4 days earlier, she'd crawled from her bedroom to the lounge room with a broken hip.
We've got ambulance on the way, okay? They'll be here soon, okay, darling?
Her sense of humour still intact despite the pain.
I'm just going to come past you and get you a drink of water, okay?
Yeah, in the fridge, I have got some apple juice. Could you make it half with soda water? You're nice looking, man.
Thank you.
Erica lives alone but is registered with the state government's care army. The police officers made the welfare check after a volunteer phoned the 80-year-old and didn't receive an answer. She's now recovering in hospital.
Yeah, come on, darling.
Good morning, Erica.
Good morning.
How are you?
Erica unable to hug her saviours, Glenn and Max, but still able to show her immense gratitude.
My lifesavers, my angels. No policemen, my angels.
Emily Arnold, 7 News.
There is good news out there. With many of us spending more time at home or experiencing stress due to the pandemic, it's not unusual to be reaching for unhealthy or indulgent foods. But the experts say we should get on top of this mindless snacking before it becomes too hard to kick the COVID-19 calories.
For Nicola Brown, it's not just work habits that have changed during this pandemic, but her eating habits too.
When I usually go into the office, I get in, have a coffee, maybe have some fruit, but then I don't eat until about lunchtime. However, since I've been home, I'm just snacking quite often. It's pretty easy just to head to the fridge whenever you want.
Mindless snacking is now becoming second nature around the world.
I made myself an ice cream sundae because, you know, why the hell not?
But the CSIRO says it is possible to make a change.
When you think, OK, I'm not really getting a grasp on what I am doing in the day, keeping a journal and just monitoring yourself is really important.
Other tips include planning to eat within a 12-hour window. For example, breakfast at 7 a.m, a midday lunch, an afternoon snack and dinner at 7. Then stop eating after your evening meal. Instead, look to do non-food activities like picking up a puzzle book or calling a friend. When working from home, eat away from your desk.
You don't want to go out of this pandemic having those increased desires for food because they are hard to change long term.
Elise Baker, 7 News.
Millions of Australians have watched their super take a huge hit during the COVID-19 crisis. But experts say there's no need to panic and cashing out now could do more harm than good. Coming up soon, we'll look at which funds are performing best during the downturn. Sport is next with Tim Watson. And Tim, there's plenty of headaches for the AFL tonight.
Mitch, the Crows are under investigation for breaching training rules. While things are getting heated out west, we'll show you the Eagles and Dockers' last-ditch attempt to get footy moving. Plus, why the AFL shutdown is a blessing for a two-time premiership Tiger. Joe Burns braces for King Coley in the toughest test of his career. And why Big Bad Barry could go toe-to-toe with Iron Mike Tyson.
Guilty of the murder of Special Agent Emily Burnham.
She's alive. You've been gone 6 years. Where were you?
Do you recall anything from your time in captivity?
No.
She must remember to save herself.
She's dangerous.
Castle star Katic in the riveting new series, Absentia, coming soon to 7.
The Australian government is working hard to keep businesses in business and Australians in jobs. That's why we've introduced the JobKeeper payment. If you're a business severely impacted by the coronavirus, you'll receive a fortnightly payment of $1,500 for each eligible employee to cover their wages. For employees, it will allow millions of Australians to keep their job, including those who've been stood down. To find out more, visit australia.gov.au, authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Their doors might be closing, but they're always open on eBay. Stay home, shop online and help support 40,000 Aussie retailers.
Right now, knowing where you stand financially is more important than ever.
But with so many different benefits, rebates and concessions,
it can be confusing.
That's why there's Benefits Finder in your CommBank app. In seconds, we can help you find the benefits you may be eligible for.
It's just one of the ways we're doing more things for more people together.
Welcome to Bunnings. We put measures in place to keep us all safe.
You can order online, drive to the store and collect with contact-free pickup.
You may have to queue on arrival to limit the amount of customers in store.
We're also limiting the number of people per aisle.
Protective screens have been installed.
And line markings and tables to keep us 1.5 metres apart. Contactless payment is preferred where possible.
We're doing the best we can to get you in and out of Bunnings quickly and safely. Thanks for your patience.
Tough times don't excuse tougher times at home. Even in crisis, there's no place for abuse or domestic violence. If you or someone you know is affected, help is available online and by phone 24/7. For free, confidential advice, support and counselling for women and men, contact 1-800-RESPECT. There's no place for abuse or domestic violence. Help is here. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
We're pregnant! Did someone say KFC?
I don't care. I love it.
The Sports Report brought to you by KFC. Get your KFC contact-free today.
Welcome back. Crisis talks have just broken up as the Perth AFL clubs attempt to convince the government to loosen border restrictions. Chief Football reporter Mark Stevens has exclusive details. And Stevo, this has massive ramifications for footy's restart.
It certainly does, Tim. The tight border controls in WA mean the fly-in, fly-out model the AFL's so desperate for certainly is under threat. Freo on West Coast could be forced to play out of Melbourne. It's so serious the clubs have just held a 90-minute meeting with health officials and police. The commissioner in WA has extra powers on this. This is the Eagles and the Dockers a short time ago.
Is there any hope that there can be some footy here, or is that dead now?
Oh, I can't comment, sorry.
Do you think there's any chance at all that the fly-in, fly-out situation can happen here?
We're just working through every option possible to get us the best possible outcome. It's sort of the only comment I'll make at this time.
Now, that meeting came after the WA government really doubled down. They're not able or willing to give the AFL any favours.
The health advice is crystal clear. There is no confidence the AFL can maintain infection control and prevent infection spread among players and staff under the current proposed model. The WA's hard border will not and should not be compromised to allow the AFL to resume a home and away season.
Now, the big freeze, the much-loved big freeze, something brewing there. We won't have footy on Queen's birthday Monday, but just expect a special event there with the big freeze. Stay tuned, Tim.
Thanks, Stevo. And in breaking news, the AFL is investigating the Adelaide Crows for a potential breach of the league's training regulations. A group of quarantined players was spotted with footballs on a golf course in the Barossa Valley, which goes directly against AFL orders. The AFL read the Right Act to clubs about training numbers earlier this week, and league officials are reportedly furious. In South Australia, it's legal to train in groups of 10 or less, but the AFL has restricted training to pairs across the competition. For the first time since he was drafted, the AFL shutdown has given devout Muslim Bashir Houli the chance to practice Ramadan with his young family. But the month of fasting hasn't hampered his gruelling training regime as he prepares for footy's restart.
This is Bashir Houli's favourite time of the year. Usually the Richmond Star juggles the holy month of Ramadan and football, but the AFL shutdown has got its positives.
But yeah, it's been different. It's a blessing because I'm spending more quality time with my girls. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
The Richmond Star can't eat or drink during daylight hours for 30 days. He wakes before 4 a.m. to pray, has breakfast just after 5, then fasts for 13 hours. And in between, he runs 11 kilometres without a drink with former Saint Ahmed Saad.
Finished our shuttles. Very important to keep your legs conditioned with kicking the football.
Incredibly, Hooley plays his best footy during the holy month of fasting. In 2017, his player ratings increased to 119.5 during the 4 matches during Ramadan, up almost 28 points on his season average. He was injured in 2018, but last year his rating increased by almost 26 points to 127.75, and he was best on ground in the Dreamtime game.
How do you find praying with Daddy? Not bad, you like it? Enjoy it? What do you pray for? For Allah. For Allah, good girl.
Sean Sowerby, 7 News.
Australian batsman Joe Burns says a summer showdown against Virat Kohli's India shapes as the toughest challenge of his career. Burns earned his first national contract last week and wants to prove his worth by piling on the runs against one of the world's best.
Both teams are going to have a lot to play for with the #1 ranking and the position on the World Test Championships. And that's what's motivating us.
Burns and Marnus Labuschagne are among 6 new faces given contracts by Cricket Australia. And Sydney Swans premiership player Barry Hall could go toe-to-toe with boxing legend Mike Tyson in a blockbuster exhibition bout. An Australian promoter has offered Tyson $1.5 million to fight either Big Bad Barry, rugby league legend Paul Gallen, or former All Black Sonny Bill Williams. At 53, Tyson is 10 years older than Hall, but still packs plenty of punch. And Mitch, I know you believe there's more chance you can buy a genuine Rolex watch on Cooter Beach than there is that this bout will go ahead. Is that right?
Would Mike Tyson know who any of those guys are?
He'll find out soon enough. He's good mates with Jeff Fennick. He'll tell him.
We'll see if it happens. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. Australia's superannuation accounts have taken a huge hit over the last few weeks, as we know. Experts say it's important not to panic, but there are some steps you can take now to future-proof your retirement.
Retirement is meant to look something like this, but COVID-19 has hit superannuation nest eggs for 6.
February and March, we saw extreme share market weakness.
Best advice is to seek expert opinion now.
It's a tough call for someone in their late 50s. Is the market going to recover soon, or is it going to fall a lot further?
If you are decades from retirement in your 30s, good news.
There are high quality assets that were worth a lot more 6 to 12 months ago that now we can buy.
In your 40s, you can afford to ride out a few market corrections.
Getting a bit more marginal, but they'd be in the same situation.
Taking into account the recent falls, the best performing funds over the past 5 years are Q Super, returning more than 5.5%, Australian Super, Cbus Growth, Host Plus Super and Construction Industry Super Bus Q. But regardless of the time in your life, this is what you should do now.
First up, check your investment return. It's the net performance. Don't pay too much in fees. Check your investment option. Do you have enough insurance? Are you paying too much? And finally, do you need insurance? Consolidate your accounts.
Above all, don't panic. Super is a long-term investment. Steve Titmus, 7 News.
Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, what can we expect tomorrow?
Well, Mitch, Friday is looking quite nice, actually, and I'd make the most of it with what's coming on the weekend. The details are next.
Who is that?
I don't know.
It's Tane, Ari's brother. I don't think they like each other too much.
He's about to arrive. Some will love it, some won't.
I told you to stay away.
I ain't going anywhere.
It's all that heavy.
I didn't come here to make trouble. I came here to make sure my family was okay.
Tane acts like he's a good guy, but he's not.
Maybe I'll see you around, yeah?
Maybe. He's got the whole bay talking. Home and Away. Weeknights on 7.
If you're in business in Australia, right now you're facing one of your toughest challenges. Business Australia can help you manage your responsibilities to your employees and assist with strategies to maintain and sustain your business. For free advice and support, visit businessaustralia.com.
Harvey Norman has everything you need for your home. Come into our spacious stores for the best of Australian made. Choose Australian made timber and fabric beds and customise the fabric, colour and timber stain to suit your home. Our range features the best names in Australian made mattresses and ensembles. Sealy, Sleepmaker, Beauty Rest, King Coil and Body Balance. Complete your sleep experience with beautiful Australian made Manchester. Support local manufacturers and choose Australian made. Everything you need for your home. Browse online and shop in store. Now at Harvey Norman.
Go! Upload's that way, OR's the other way. What do you want to do?
Upload.
Anytime you need me, I'll be here for you.
In-app purchase required.
I'm not even supposed to be here.
Do you think I wanted to fall into the Grand Canyon?
I saw that video. You dabbed on the way down.
That's how you hit the lights.
The game that makes the most millionaires is giving you 20 million more reasons to get super excited this Saturday. Tats Lotto's $20 million Super Draw Saturday. Play now in-store at thelot.com or the Lot app.
If you're a small business, you've probably got a lot more questions than answers right now, which is why there's never been a more important time to speak to a professional accountant. They're specifically trained to help with business planning and cash flow management strategies tailored to support your business through these challenging times. They can even lend a hand with applications for government support to make sure you get the help your business needs. For further support and assistance, contact a professional accountant today.
How's that for serenity?
Can care be better at home?
Oh, it's sanctuary. Your home's a bit of a sanctuary. Yeah, for me, rehab at home, it gave me a huge amount of flexibility to be able to do the things I wanted to do. It allowed me to unstress and be in the moment in your house in your own comfort zone, which was really good for me and my state of mind.
Search Medibank at Home to see how we're creating better choices for our members.
We know you've always worked hard for your money. In these uncertain economic times, who do you trust to protect your wealth? Invest with La Trobe Financial, Australia's multi-award winning wealth manager and leading credit specialist. Trusted by Australians for more than 60 years.
This weather report brought to you by La Trobe Financial. Make your money work harder.
Hello again. We had a windy day before conditions eased mid-afternoon. The bit of cloud cleared late afternoon and that wind is a northerly, so it reached a top of 21. It was nice if you were in a sheltered spot. Outside now in the city, it is still up on 19 degrees. We've had patches of cloud and rain on the radar, but just a light spit of rain by the time it reaches the ground. That's not the case in the southwest corner of the state. There's showers and thunderstorms continuing there. It was warm in the northwest. Mildura reached a top of 27 degrees. That is 8 above the May average. Zooming in, and we had that band of patchy rain here, but it didn't produce anything measurable. It was so light. That cleared late this afternoon and it was sunny after that, so it should be all dry tonight. A cold front looks impressive. It pummeled Perth, it rocked Adelaide, but ran out of steam just before brushing us. The next cold front approaches tomorrow with a different path. We'll be feeling that on Saturday. Tonight and tomorrow, a bit more light patchy rain. It's heaviest in the southwest corner, so it is generally dry. Then a band of cold and gusty showers hits the southwest on Friday night and crosses through the state on Saturday. It is cold enough for snow above 1,000 metres, the Alps and higher ranges. On Sunday, it remains cold, but the wet weather is confined to the coast. Most will be dry. It is Mother's Day, so let's zoom into Melbourne, where it's very different from west to east. Southeastern suburbs here have lots of showers passing through, while the city and northwest are mostly dry. But it is very chilly. It's a top of just 14. Around the nation tomorrow, mostly dry in Brisbane, sunny in Sydney. It's a top of 27. Showers and thunderstorms developing in Adelaide, up to 15 millimetres there. Perth has showers tonight. They'll clear out tomorrow morning. To Victoria, just light patchy rain. It is generally dry tomorrow. Temperatures are cool to mild in moderate northwesterly winds. Then a burst of cold and gusty showers hits the southwest corner with that front at night. Closer inland, it's a pretty nice Friday. It's a moderate northerly wind, so nothing like we saw today. A mix of sunshine and some cloud. A few suburbs should reach 20. The city drops to 12 overnight once the wind becomes lighter. Then it's 20 tomorrow with lots of sunshine. To the 8-day outlook, where conditions go rapidly downhill for the weekend. On Saturday, it's 15. That's in the morning. It's even colder by the afternoon. Lots of gusty showers passing through, wintry hail. Rainfall amounts 8 in the west, up to 15 in the eastern suburbs. On Sunday, lots of wet weather over southeastern suburbs, up to 10 millimetres, but hardly anything in the rest. We'll take a break, then there's the chance of some rain later next week. But a pretty nice Friday, lots of sunshine, 20, and finally a break from that howling wind, Mitch.
Yes, indeed, Jane. Now, Tim thinks there's a rainfall record set for this year on the way. Is he on the money?
Well, it is only May, so maybe I'll come back to you in maybe November or December. But yes, we have had a very wet start to the year. Just depends if it keeps going.
And you're enjoying the rainfall, aren't you?
I love the rain. Very promising, Jane.
Rain on the tin roof is your favourite sound, isn't it?
Yeah, that and the Bombers themes.
Thank you, Tim. Finally tonight, we're all encouraged to still have health checks during this crisis, and that also goes for animals at Melbourne Zoo. Several frogs and snakes had their eyes checked by a vet to make sure they stay well. Keepers picked up one frog with a cataract, but the others all have 20/20 vision. No glasses for them. And that's the way it is. This Thursday, the 7th of May... Oh, they don't have ears. That's right. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for your company. We'll have updates later. For now, from the team, good night.